everybody, welcome to BrickVault. In this video we are taking a closer look at one of the most iconic and well-known spaceships pretty much of all time, the X-wing. It was first seen back in 1977 in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, during the Battle of Yavin, and this, the T-65 X-wing Starfighter, or the T-65B X-wing Starfighter is the full name of the ship if you really wanted to know. It was the primary fighter for the Rebel Alliance. It was fast and well-rounded and could pack a punch, generally speaking, and for a time it was the best thing to go up against the Empire's TIE fighters. It is narrow and sleek in some places, while other areas are exposed and a bit rough. With 4 large thrusters and laser cannons to match, this ship commands a realistic and gritty look not unsimilar to that of a modern-day fighter jet. When the S-foils open to attack position, it's not hard to guess how the ship got its name, and what we have here is the most hyper-realistic and technically accurate version of the ship in LEGO ever, I think. It's one of the most recreated builds in LEGO bricks amongst enthusiasts all over the world, and this model, simply put, is one of the very best you'll ever find. This LEGO build is from the designer Jarek, the same builder that created the amazing line of TIE fighters, and like those models, the building instructions can be found at our web store, www.brickvault.toys. Included with each purchase comes with PDF step-by-step instructions and a digital parts list file that can be uploaded online so you can order the parts quickly and easily. Also, we weren't sure which color combination everyone would like best, so the X-wing comes in gray and blue, very similar to the markings of Blue Leader from Rogue One, gray and dark red with the markings of Red 5, that's Luke's X-wing, and there's also a classic red and white X-wing, which is the most common color combination we see in LEGO, and is how the fighter would have looked hot off the Incom factory floor. Purchasing from our web store is a really great way to support us here back at BrickVault and the designers like Jarek, who dedicate themselves to these incredible builds, so I highly recommend checking out BrickVault.toys, also linked in the description below. And now let's get back to the model. First and foremost, let's get a size comparison in there. You did see a lot of those ships flash by very quickly in the beginning of the video, but here they are just a little bit slower now. The X-wing is built at perfect minifig scale, which means that all of these ships are the correct size when compared to each other. So that includes everything you see flashing by the screen, including the Ultimate Collector Series Slave 1 and the Falcon. Would have put it in the Lightroom, it was just too heavy, didn't feel like moving it. And then also this is the X-wing on the stand next to our Ghost, which is still going under some surgery. And while I'm holding the camera, I think it's also worth taking a look at and comparing some of the older models of the X-wings from sets, and then showing it off next to the custom build, and you can really get a good idea as to just how much more detail is there, how much better the proportions are, and I just get a kick out of seeing the evolution of this build coming from many years ago with different pieces. Granted, there probably wasn't quite as many special parts to get certain types of connections, but also the building techniques amongst designers has just evolved to a level that is, well, night and day, really. Also, very quickly, this is going to be a quick comparison. The build on the left-hand side is the Mike Saki custom X-wing, which has been kind of the standard base model that so many custom X-wing designs have been based on for many years, and up until essentially now, I'd say it was the best darn X-wing you could find when scouring the internet. Granted, it's a much older design. I still think it looks great, but I still think Jarek's X-wing has absolutely evolved the design and taken it to the next level. Alright, that's it for comparing this thing to other builds. Now let's get into the features of the X-wing. This model is obviously a bit more delicate than maybe an average playset, but it's still very sturdy and interactive. Let's start at the bottom, I guess, and move our way up. We're starting at the landing gear. There are opposing flaps that open on either side to reveal the foot underneath. You just have to catch that little lip there. This is a very clean looking build, but does take maybe a second to actually find that opening. and you can pull the foot out pretty easily. When it comes to the front, that little ski part is already somewhat exposed, much easier to grab, and there you have it. The X-wing stands strong, though I wouldn't suggest sliding the model forward and back. The feet stay up just fine, but you can kind of push them so they fold in on themselves. Now for the cockpit, you can easily open it and seat your single pilot minifigure on the inside. The windscreen is somewhat sunken into the shape of the X-wing body, which I absolutely love, and there's quite a lot of space when looking into the cockpit itself. There's multiple control panels and consoles, and there's even a little targeting screen, or at least the suggestion of a targeting screen popping forward in the front. And I don't know what inspired Jarek, but I really do like those black hot dog pieces used in the back by the seat. As we move to the back section, this is pretty much the only area of the build that has greebling, and that circular 2x2 tile with a hole in the center serves another function, but I'll show you that in just a second. Here is a closer look at the detailing for the wings. Right now we are looking at Red 5, or at least our interpretation of what Red 5 would look like. So those grill pieces somewhat make up the 5 stripes that it would have, and then here is a quick shot of the blue X-wing and our standard red and white. At the end of the day, there are plenty of ways to change up the markings for your X-wing. These were just the 3 default ones that we decided to choose. And now let's go to the main function, the S-foils opening for attack position. You can do it with your hand, which is easy enough, no problem there. They stay open pretty well, and they close pretty well. They're not very loose. And then we added this little key, so to speak. It's just a gear piece and a cross piece. You can insert it into an internal gearbox within the X-wing, and it allows you to open and close the wings on your own from there. The internal gearbox is what gives the X-wing a little bit of tension that keeps them open or closed when you just do it manually, and it has the added benefit of you being able to open and close the X-wing with the external gear if that's what you like to do. Now towards the end of each of these mock videos, I do like to pick up the model and just kind of handle it in front of you guys to show you how delicate or not delicate it is. I'd say the X-wing has a decent amount of sturdiness to it, with, like most mocks, just a few places that you should understand maybe aren't quite as strong as something you might get from a Lego set. You can hold the model with all of its weight and a decent amount of kind of swooshing around from pretty much any major part of the build, so you can hold it by the wings or the nose or the body pretty well. And then the moderate spots to look out for, I would say the engines could be knocked off. They're only held on by 4 studs. The nose has a fun way of pushing in on a Technic piece, so I wouldn't hold the model up by the nose. And the front part of the engine could get knocked off as well. Outside of that realm, I mean, just remember that the guns are made of flexi tubes, so if you see them wobbling around a little bit, I actually consider that an extra bit of accuracy. You guys should take a close look at what Luke's X-wing looks like from the very first film. And aside from all of that, you guessed it, the model is definitely swooshable. All you have to do is make sure to know where those few weak points are, and the model holds up really well. In case I didn't mention it before, also the stand is included for this build, and I decided to switch out these rare parts just to show you guys on the blue X-wing. Right at the end by those guns, you can use these shoulder pauldron pieces. Technically, they're kind of like a side order. They're very rare, but included with the purchase as well. In case you wanted it to look maybe a little bit more accurate, this would make the model slightly more expensive, but anyways, we left that in as an option too. And all right, with that, I would say that's just about everything there is to this X-wing, or X-wings if you want to count them as different ones for the colors. Really, the building is exactly the same, but I do want to say one more thing. This is an expert build, and by expert I mean it's definitely more difficult to put together than a Lego set that says expert, so just keep that in mind. There are plenty of interesting connections for you to go through with the instructions. Once again, you can find the instructions at our web store, www.brickvault.toys, and thanks so much for watching, everybody. If you enjoy our content, feel free to like or subscribe or comment, do whatever you like. All right, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.